Markets Now is brought to you by the 5-year anniversary of Brevant Seeds. Here's to 5 years of not just winning, but collecting one game-changing W after another. See all of our wins at brevant.com/wins.
Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook. Mike Miner of Professional Ag Marketing will be joining us here this morning. We're seeing lower prices over in the grains, except for wheat, and kind of a mixed trade in the livestock futures. And Mike, corn and soybeans, like I said, seeing pressure. We look like we're kind of discounting the heat this week and maybe those pollination issues and more latched on here to these high crop ratings.
I don't think we're trading it really at this point. Tassel wrap problems seem somewhat minor. You really have to hunt for it, at least in this part of the world, to try to find any at all. And some of the hybrids specifically are known to have some of that problem as well. So I haven't really put too much weight on it, at least. And I don't think the market has at this point either. And it can be a very difficult problem to really assess until you get the combines out in the field too, Michelle.
Right. And 68% get to excellent on soybeans, which is down a little bit from last week. Again, the market kind of not really trading that here this morning. And from a technical standpoint, we're taking out key moving averages in both corn and soybeans, technically, aren't we?
Yeah, well, technical development got really disappointing after we failed to fill the gaps there at the end of last week. We kind of opened up Sunday night, and it's like, okay, here's your shot. If you don't do it right away, we're going to have some pretty bearish trade develop here through this market technically. And the corn markets ran up against some resistance areas, the 20 days specifically. The soybeans are trying to hold that as a support level for now. We'll see if we can still hold on to it or not. But just from a technical perspective, we've after we rejected that resistance, it's been a difficult technical picture on both corn and soybeans here.
Right. And we don't have any real positive or big bullish trade news to help push the market either. We get little bits and pieces, but just nothing that's really huge, right?
Nothing crazy. I mean, really, up until this point, exports on corn would be one of the major talking points I could think of. We're up 26% year to date from Jan through May on corn exports, and that's without China being existent at all in our export picture. It's mainly looking at the other usual suspects like Mexico, Spain, Japan, Vietnam, etc. So demand's been really good on corn. So if there is one good thing to say about this corn market, it's been the export side, but that can only get us so far. I mean, if we're going to have one of these massive yields on corn, we're going to run out of ways to use it here in a quick hurry.
Yeah. Soybean exports are running ahead of last year's pace as well. The key is we haven't sold any new crop soybeans to China, and that continues to kind of hang over the market, doesn't it?
It seems like right now they're trading the fact that we haven't had any soybean exports to China, along with side that we haven't had our August weather yet, and we're not quite close enough for that 6 to 10 day forecast to become realized. So when I look at that, if you get into the month of August where soybean weather matters, then maybe you start to trade more of the fact that China hasn't bought anything from the United States on soybeans so far. So that's something I'm going to be watching close as well, because at this point they are way behind schedule on that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, wheat is trying to bounce this morning. It might be a little bit of short covering, obviously, here, but usually by this time, the winter wheat market has bottomed. We're at 73% on harvest. And is this bounce going to hold here? Because yesterday I felt like we just followed corn and soybeans.
Well, I mean, we've also been trading a little bit of the fact that Russia's had some increased export activity lately. It does look like they're maybe going to get short squeezed on supply. That could potentially be happening today as we look at the market popping. A little bit of a short covering as well, but that'll be something to keep in mind on their supplies going forward, as well as they've used cheap commodity exports as a way to finance their war. So that is still alive and well, and we will have to track that progress going forward. Wheat also had some interesting news just with some of these other trade deals we've been making, like Bangladesh, for example. They don't really import U.S. wheat, nor should they logistically. However, they agreed to increase their export or imports over the next 5 years. So some of the trade deals that have come out have involved wheat and buying specific ag commodities. And I think that's a good sign going into some of these other major trade deals.
Cattle market starting off just a little softer here this morning. Not sure that will stay that way. We didn't yesterday. It seems like every break gets bought here by the funds. The fundamentals still just very, very bullish, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bullish technical trade. Momentum is appreciating, and overall moving averages are lending support levels at this point. So, fundamentals are friendly as well. I mean, you're still at a very high cutout, which we are dropping. We're at 370. So, seasonally, it is starting to fall back a little bit here, but it seems like it's a seasonal problem, not a cycle problem. And at this point, we've had some really good fundamental pictures, whether it be the cash side, we're just tight on supplies, and the U.S. consumer continues to eat beef.
Yeah, we had record retail beef prices during the month of June, but have you seen the consumer really back away from beef at all?
Not a ton, maybe a little bit on this pullback. I think it has more to do with the seasonal aspect that you eat steaks in the beginning of the summer, you eat hot dogs at the end of summer. I think you've seen that just seasonal summer peak through the 4th of July occur. We've had high prices for quite some time, but from the outside market perspective, I don't see any weakness really in these in the consumers or their spending habits frequently at all in the recent picture. So I haven't seen too much, as we actually are eating more prime meat today than choice for the first time ever. So you know what, people like their expensive meat still.
Yeah. The other thing we should mention, we talk about both supply and demand being strong, helping to push live cattle futures into all-time highs. Feeders also into all-time highs here yesterday. And the border being closed, Brazilian imports maybe being tariff, those things are driving that market. How long do you think this Mexican border situation is going to last?
Well, it's interesting. The feeder cattle index is 325 and it's headed towards like 328, but actually now you've got the board above that, which that's kind of a rarity compared to late. So that's something worth mentioning. But yeah, we're on pace right now. We've had about 500,000 imports that did not occur that should have, from Mexican feeder cattle into the United States. It looks like we're on pace to miss out on about a million head of feeder cattle for the month of 2025. So that would be equivalent to about 3.2% of the total production. And that'd be about the size of a major packing plant, something along those lines. So this border being closed, and with screwworm being somewhat close to the border now, within 300 miles, cattle probably aren't the only thing at risk. We haven't talked much about the pork side of it in the United States, or small animals, horses. It could come over any way, shape, or form, not just cattle. So something worth mentioning there as well.
Absolutely. Something we're keeping our eyes on. We certainly do not know how long the border is going to remain closed to Mexican imports for sure. Let's talk about the hog market because we're kind of into some chart resistance areas, obviously, but talk about some of the things right now that you're watching in the hog market, including some of these developments with Mexico on trade.
Well, technically, we've bounced right back up against a 20-day moving average. We're very close to using that for a resistance now on December hogs, for example. The price action's been interesting. I think it's revolved heavily around tariff and trade news. If you look, we put tariffs on Mexican tomatoes 17%. So 70% of our tomatoes come from Mexico. And this, just in simple, it made Mexico very mad. Uh, the president, Scheinbaum of Mexico, she came out and said that Mexico tomatoes are like, yeah, how Mexico needs U.S. pork. So the fact that she mentioned specifically pork in that response, it concerns us from a retaliatory perspective going forward. And I think that didn't help yesterday's trade if we really look at it. So it opens the idea back for retaliation involving pork, and that I think that still weighs on this pork market right now, at least until we have further confirmation of how trade is going between the United States and Mexico.
Right now, though, the lean hog index is inching a little bit higher. Cutouts are up a little bit right now, and so that's providing a little bit of support, though, isn't it?
Yeah, cutout. We're just under 120 again. We've had a nice jump back higher. It's belly season and BLT season, so we should start to continue to see some appreciation in the short term. But the clock is ticking seasonally. I mean, by the time we get into August here, it's only a matter of time before that cutout peaks for the year again. So something to watch there as demand could fall off after that point. But fundamentals stay strong. Cash was higher, getting back into that 115 area now. So really good development fundamentally.
So what I hear you saying there is you think it's going to be tough to take out these resistance areas.
Yeah, if it's gonna do it, we've got a couple weeks. I mean, it's gonna have to do it in a hurry. So, from a technical perspective, it's gonna be tough to take out these old highs. I think in this hog market.
Gotcha. Thanks so much as always, Mike Miner, Professional Ag Marketing. That is Markets Now.
You were right.
You were right.
You were right.
Well, you were right. When you choose your seed brand, there's winning, and then there's...
You were right. Should have gone with Brevant seeds.
When you choose Brevant seeds, you don't just win. You get to be right. Don't just win. Win. Talk with your retailer or visit Brevant.com/win to get started.